to the Alternate Future of the World series. And as we know, the world has frozen. And while a war of expansion, which is for resources, breaks out, what happens is to gain accesses to resources, Turkey declares war on these two nations. To these two nations, they get the support of these nations, but they manage to pull in their ally here. And seeing this nation wants expansion with their ally, they bring in these two nations. Not that. I just realized there's only one more country than I had in the thumbnail, so that's not great. Now the Greek state goes one way with the expansionist nations. I think this was it, and that was the nation against them. Yeah, these two nations and that nation. Now that's just there. And then seeing this as an opportunity for expansion, this area declares war on that area. With this nation ending up on the blue team. And then we get Egypt and Darfur and South Sudan, which are somehow the same color for some reason. And now all the nations are joining in involved. With the first offensives happening. Why the first ones? Well, because it's the first ones, I guess. Well, they attack because they started the war and they've been planning it out. And they manage to quickly connect forces here and land over here. With the Arabian forces quickly getting ready. And with the two, they manage to quickly capitulate this nation. Well, finally, they start their offensives. And this Pakistan is still trying to reunite itself. And they end up, de facto like that, with Sudan being in trouble, with Egypt and Darfur quickly sending troops to take Khartoum, which works out, but just Sudan doesn't. And well, they then run down the coast. This leads to a quick surrender. Well, with the Bulgarian nation managing to do super well, performing above the expectations of their allies. As is shown, they're really into revenge, with the Ukrainian state managing to take this apart. As they come in from the north, and with the help of the Bulgarian state, they manage to take this. And with some of their troops moving in down south to help Bulgaria take out Greece. Well, these two nations quickly take this nation out of the war, Ukraine and Kazakhstan. And then, well, after a short invasion by mostly Ukrainian forces, they surrender. And well, with quicker offensives over here in this area, well, it wasn't a big shock. With it not being as much, so it's not very much resource valuable areas. But this being the only area to fall. And well, with their ally to the south managing to cut over and take all of this over, and then launch an offensive over here to take the last of the cities. They manage to surrender here and get surrender out of there. And both forces work together to launch a quick offensive against this nation, which leads to their fall. And well, with that, they're in trouble. As their ally Pakistan being re-liberated. Not long after all of this falls, the last two nations decide peace, but they don't get it. Which is bad, because this nation starts crumbling when all the forces head in. Because it was much weaker than the other. Now to go into a peace treaty. So let's see the peace treaty. Partition southern parts of South Sudan. Defer gains lands, Egypt gains most. With Arabia annexing this nation, I think I called it what would be called Hijaz, maybe. And then this, Yemen, Oman, UAE thing, they annexed. Pakistan gained a lot of land. The Stan nation gained a lot. Ukraine is becoming even bigger. Bulgaria even gained a coastline, but no puppets were created, no real alliances. For many reasons, but what this really shown was mostly about resources. And despite the fact that the economy is really doing bad in Europe and the rest of the world, a unification does occur. One between the German states and Austria. And well, Italy manages to annex this and they manage to unify. But France doesn't manage to get anything back. But what does happen is a war in the Americas between just these two nations. The second nation wasn't ready for this, but should have been. And the first nation just moves in like a roller coaster. Eventually, these southern states decide to join in. But they manage to move in to here as the rest of the nation of this Texan Republic falls. But resistance is off the charts. Yes, resistance will be off the charts. Although with this, now comes the settling of the land. The Baja California and Sonora all deciding to join it as they declare the Californian Empire. And with the United States, this Great Lake nation decides to join back, along with this northern nation reforming the United States, with the collapsed nations having gotten too cold to survive. But during this, Russia manages to redeclare itself as they manage to form a government in the freezing condition. It goes further to this direction than the Ukrainian Empire. And a war between the two seems inevitable, but not yet, because this nation isn't very strong yet. With some of the Iceland managing to be taken back by a few of these nations. But none of them are usable, is what it comes down to. So realistically, they didn't gain any. They just gained some frozen ports. And frozen wasteland, basically. With Ukraine having its empire ongoing. And these nations, the Caucasian republics, decide to join Turkey. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe.